Welcome back, all my 40k fanatics out there. I'm DJ here with Tim's Nation, and tonight it's gonna be a Grey Knight. See what I did there? That's right, we are playing the Grey Knights tonight. Lane is bringing the Blood Angels back for a little extra practice before this weekend. He hasn't had as many games and reps with this new book since we just got the points. And for me, to this event that we've gone to, and we go to quite frequently, I have taken the Necrons, I've taken Admech, but I've never taken Grey Knights. So I decided, you know what, I haven't had them on the channel in a while, I haven't played them in a while. Let's see how they feel. How do they look in this current shape, in the current game? Especially with how powerful Blood Angels are, and I expect to see some Blood Angels during this tournament. I feel like the Grey Knights have a very strong game into them. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. Grey Knights is an army that as I've said before, when it comes to Hypercrypt or Grey Knights, I will always pick Grey Knights over Hypercrypt because, one, that's the only way you can play them right now. It's the only detachment. But there's a lot of utilities that Grey Knights bring that Hypercrypt do not. Now that Hypercrypt can't drop Catans within and all that stuff, the Grey Knight become a very flexible army where the entire army can bound around the field and play the secondary games in ways that many other armies can't. So that's basically it. A little bit of the fact that I haven't taken this army. A little bit of the fact that this is probably one of my best painted armies, so I'd like to go showcase it. And I feel very confident with Grey Knights. I think some of it is, like Lane and I were discussing, there's less data sheets. So it's like it's easier to shake the rust off since I've been playing so many different armies and playing Imperial Agents. It's like with Necrons, there's a lot of things I'm doing, a lot of things I'm trying and seeing which one I really love the most, which I love it all. I love all the Necrons the most. But with Grey Knights, it's very, very few data sheets, one detachment. This is the way it plays. This is the way it goes. So I think it's easier for me to jump back in for that since I haven't really dialed a list in. It hasn't been like one list that I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going to take. Because I was working with Imperial Agents, then back to Necrons. So now it's going to be Grey Knights. Probably go back to Necrons after this, or Dreadmob even. But today, let's talk about the Grey Knights. Let's talk about the Grey Knight list I'm going to be playing today, and maybe this weekend if things go well. All right, here we go. This is the Grey Knight Teleport Strike Force that I'll be playing today. I believe it's 1990 in points. I think I'm 10 points under 2,000. But that is basically it. For those who don't know, the Grey Knights Teleport Strike Force, there's two interesting things. Any teleport assault unit that advances automatically advances 6 inches, as well as the fact that during the end of my opponent's turn, I can select up to 3 units, remove them from the field, and put them in strategic reserve. Those units can then arrive using Deep Strike, since they all have Deep Strike, during my next reinforcement step. So if I go second, once my opponent ends their turn, I can pick units up to bring back down on turn 1. So I have a couple things to balance whether I go first and second, because that's one of the things that I've noticed with this army. I was having difficulties when I would end up going first. I really didn't have anything to do. And that's where it comes into probably one of the most important enhancements I feel in Grey Knights, and that is the first to the Fray enhancement. All right, let's go over our contenders and who's coming to play today. So for starters, we have one Grandmaster Nemesis Dreadknight. Psycannon, Silencer, and Hammer. This guy has a couple of interesting things that I like for him. Now, while he does not have advance and charge and shoot and charge and fall back and charge like the other Dreadknights do, he is able to reduce the cost of a stratagem by 1 to a minimal of 1 that targets him. This is very, very, very good for is interrupt stratagem, to be able to interrupt in combat for 1 command point on him. Very good, very unique ability. It's something that Lane and I were talking about recently. I used it recently with him, and it was able to just kind of keep your opponent guessing, because when you're sitting on 1 command point, they go, oh, okay, you can't interrupt. You go, well, actually I can with this Dreadknight. The Dreadknight also, in combat, once per battle round, can go reroll hits, wounds, and damage into a monster or vehicle, making this guy able to hit really, really hard. He'll also have the Sigil of Exigence. This way I can start him in a more aggressive position. If I go first, he is able to move out and potentially help me complete secondaries that might be difficult to score on the first game turn. If I go second and my opponent elects to shoot at him, I can pick him up and move him somewhere else safely, getting him out of trouble. Next up, we'll stay with the Dreadknights. We do have 2 regular Dreadknights. Psycannon, Silencer, Hammer on these guys as well. The guns are cool. The hammers hit hard, but mostly it's about that advance and charge. These guys have that auto advance 6, and they're able to advance charge, advance shoot, fall back and shoot, fall back and charge. So there's just no stopping these guys. They can just advance, fall back, and still shoot and charge. So it gives them a lot of extra speed, a lot of extra momentum, good board coverage, tough to take down, and of course, they can be picked up and deep struck back down out of range. 2 up, 4 up invuln, as the Grandmaster is the same. 2 up save, 4 up invuln. Access to true silver armor, which is our armor of contempt. And yeah, just these guys are absolute beat house, especially since the silencer now went up to ignore cover and is flat 3 damage. Very strong, very good units. So we're running 3 Dreadknight chassis today. Next up, we have a 5-man squad of the Interceptors. Interceptors are incredibly fast. These guys have a 12-inch move. They have their inherent ability is when they shoot, they can move 6 inches after they finish shooting. They can auto advance 6 because they're teleport strike. And then for 1 command point, I can make all their guns assault. So you're looking at a unit that can move 12 inches, advance 6 inches, shoot because of the assault stratagem, and then move another 6 inches. So 24 inches across the board. Engage on all fronts, behind enemy lines. These guys are excellent for those things. Not to mention when they come out of deep strike, they can shoot and then move to help them get those extra secondaries. Only 1 5-man today of these guys. I do have the points that I could turn a different squad, which we'll talk about next, into another squad of Interceptors, but I have other plans for them. And that is the 5-man squad of Strike that's coming along. So Strike are 10 points cheaper than the Interceptors, both of which squads have a single Psycannon just in case. And these guys, though, instead of having the advance and shoot option, shoot and move option, they have sticky objectives, which is, as I like to call, the child that's running from room to room, turning on lights and you have to turn them off. It's a very strong ability just to have on this one unit. So this unit's going to be able to bounce around the field, giving me stickying objectives. It's a little bit slower because you have to wait to your command phase to do it, but I can sticky my home field objective, and then after my opponent plays their hand, plays their deep strikers and stuff, we can get out of there, move somewhere else. If my opponent wants to come and try and take that away, I can start playing the game on other fronts. So I do like having them, and they function much like the Interceptors do, is a unit that can do secondaries and complete secondaries. Today, though, these guys are not going to be by themselves. They're going to be joined for the first time on this channel. And actually, for the first times in this edition, I will be running a Brotherhood Champion. So the Brotherhood Champion is going to be joined to the Strike, which means they will not be able to get their scout move. However, they will now have Fight First. Fight First is a very interesting skill that a lot of armies, I think, are looking at more and more nowadays, especially with Blood Angels hitting, just coming out strong. This is now a unit that can, if you charge me, I can hit you and hurt you very, very well before you even get a chance to do anything. 3 attacks apiece on the Strike at strength 6 AP to 2 damage. And then he has 5 attacks himself at strength 6 AP to 2 damage. He also has precision. What's nice about the Brotherhood Champion is he gets reroll hits and wounds into character units. Now, even though he has precision, that doesn't mean I have to use the precision. I can just hit the unit and let the fact that there's a character in there make him that much more destructive and just do that much more damage. So we're trying him today to see if he can give this Strike, make the Strike's value go up even more, where they can just kind of go, do secondaries, complete these things. And if someone tries to get the jump on them and charge them, the Brotherhood Champion's there to help them fend the squad off, especially in that Fight First mechanic. Next up, for characters, we have our 1 solo librarian. Firework Factory. This guy can land, still do actions with his main psychic power, the Vortex of Doom. And that Vortex of Doom can just shred things. On a 1, you do damage to yourself, which always hurts. On a 2 through 5, you do 2d3 mortal wounds to the target. And if you roll that big 6, 2d6 mortal wounds to a target. Insane possibilities of damage output. Lately, I have been kind of trying to attach this guy to another squad and having someone there so that he can get that 4-up, feel no pain if he does roll the 1. But for this game, he's going to run solo. We'll be able to drop him in to do actions and do secondaries, and then he can kick out damage as the game goes on. Next up are 2 big damage-dealing bricks. First up, we have a 10-man squad of Purifiers. This has been one I've been running since the beginning of the edition. I still think they're very strong, and they're going to be very threatening into a lot of the combat threats. These guys have 4 incinerators, strength 6, AP 1, 1 damage, flamer weapons, so automatically hit. On top of the fact that you have the Purifying Flame, which will be doubled because of Crowe. So it will be 20 Purifying Flames, which are anti-infantry 2-up, AP 1, 1 damage. And then you have the Storm Bolters on top of it, plus their combat prowess, and the fact that if you just take one of these guys out, the whole squad gets +1 to hit. They get reroll wound, they get +1 to wound if you go down 50%, but we're going to hope that we don't get there. Now, these guys have, for 1 command point, if we need to, we can advance with them for the auto advance 6, and then give them torrent weapons. They can land, shred a squad of infantry, and just sit there and look at things and wait for them to move. If those units move, we go, we're going to overwatch you. If they get charged, we're going to overwatch you. These guys are very, very strong in multiple layers in the game. Usually you have to shoot them down, a good hit of true silver armor to keep their armor save high, and the fact that they have 2-up saves inherently, which the entire army has 2-up saves, makes these guys very durable, still a very strong threat. And, they can get shredded pretty quickly because they are toughness 4, 2 wound Marines. No feel, no pain, but man, the damage they put out is crazy for infantry. And again, with a Blood Angels meta potential and a lot of infantry that we're seeing, I like these guys. I like them a lot. And moving over, we do have Castellan Crowe. As mentioned, Castellan Crowe is going to be joining the Purifiers. What's to say about Crowe? He zeroes out damage for himself once per battle round. He's got precision. He's got devastating wounds. He doubles their Purifying Flames. He's awesome. So he's going to be leading them because you can't, without him, the Purifiers significantly drop in power and how much they can hit. All right, next up is one of my big boy units. It's one of my favorite units to be running out of Grey Knights for this edition, and that is a 10-man brick of the Grey Knight Terminators. So, Grey Knight Terminators have an apothecary, so they can put a model back. They have a banner, which takes this squad to OC3. We have 2 Psycannons in there, which are they're just nice to have. I like to be able to have these guys kind of play back, not be all the way up on the front, so having something with more range is ideal. But what these guys do, their big job, is going to be the fact they're OC3, they sit on an objective, and they're just impossible to move. If the mission allows me to, has like battle line support where it's, shoot and still complete actions, it turns these guys into a devastating threat to the scoreboard. These guys are tough to take down, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 4-up invuln, and usually I'm not going to put them in the easiest spot to see unless I have plans on how to get out of there. Mr. Deimos, things like that. Now, these guys are going to be led by a Grandmaster. The Grandmaster also comes with a Psycannon. He allows the squad to get targeted by a stratagem once per game and reduce it by 1. Again, Mr. Deimos, rapid ingress, things like that, true silver armor, we can do it for 0. He also is going to have the first to the fray enhancement. So in games where I go first, or even games I go second, but still mostly games I go first, I can drop these guys in and start to do work on turn 1, especially with some of the secondaries. This is a squad I can drop in, have them do work, and if my opponent attempts and moves close enough, I can Mr. Deimos them off the table, and then rapid ingress them right back on. It's a 2 CP swing, but with the Grandmaster being able to reduce one of those, I can still make that happen. Only because the unit was on the field. That's the way you would be able to rapid ingress the unit, is if it was on the field, and then I picked it up because of Mr. Deimos, then you can rapid ingress. The first of the Fray enhancement, as I've been told by people we've discussed, you cannot rapid ingress on the first of the Fray enhancement by itself. You have to put them down and then pick them up. But this Grandmaster makes the squad that much more durable, and while he's leading a unit, that unit is not affected by modifiers, which has been huge in a lot of aspects of a lot of different things that are like, oh, -1 wound, -1 to damage, -1 this. We ignore all that, and these Terminators continue to just push through. All right, so that's the list. As I said, I have the turn 1 threat with the Terminators as well as my Grandmaster to be able to still spread out, cover enough of the map to score secondaries without overly extending myself. One thing that Grey Knights do very well is they're able to play very defensive. They can go out and do stuff and then get out of the way very easily. The Terminators being able to heal models, first of the Fray, Mr. Deimos, as well as the Sigil, let me get these units out of danger turn 1. A big thing I have to watch for is, an easy way to get around the Sigil is, you don't shoot him, you charge him. Now, with Lane playing Blood Angels, he's going to have to get very, very close to me, which means once he gets within that 9 inches, moves within it, that gives me the Mr. Deimos possibilities. So it's going to be something that's going to really help control his movement for most of the game. So I'm able to go, okay, what are you going to do? When are you going to do this? And try and get him to make mistakes in a sense, where he moves 1 unit within range of the Terminators. I may look at that unit and go, okay, I can handle combat from that 1 unit and make Lane have to dedicate more before I use Mr. Deimos to get the unit out of there, and then kind of put him in a tough position where now he's over-dedicated into a corner where nothing is anymore. So it's a lot of the tricks that I'm going to be trying to do with Grey Knights, and a lot of the tricks I'm going to be trying to do with it, for the tournament as well, with this army in general, is just making opponents get them out of position. And even though we don't have a lot of AP, we don't have like devastatingly strong weapons, it's a lot of focused fire, whether it's coming from the Dreadknights or combat from different things. Being able to hit those areas and do enough damage to just whittle away a flank, and then when we hit turns 3, 4, and 5, we're able to start cracking those flanks, pushing through to score those game-winning points and get those game-winning objectives. That's the plan, but, you know, as the saying goes, everyone's got a plan until they get punched in the face, and boy howdy, Lane is going to be trying to punch me and all of my Grey Knights in the face with his Blood Angels today. All right, well, let's see how this does. And as always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon.